Samsung's Note lineup has always been the power user's best bet for a smartphone. With killer features, the best specs, and a huge display, it's always been a no-brainer. However, for 2015, Samsung has traded features we all loved for beauty. Was it a good choice? Did they sacrifice too much in the pursuit of design? Let's find out. I'm Ben with iTech Triad, and this is our video review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. So let's kick things off with one of the biggest changes on this new phone, the design. Now clearly, this phone borrows a lot from its little brother, the Galaxy S6. Now the Note 5 does bring a metal and glass design just like the Galaxy S6, and while it's just as gorgeous as ever, it still retains all the fingerprints, and still makes a very slick device. Now it's definitely not a deal breaker, but I personally prefer to either put on a case or use a skin. Now one of the great improvements Samsung has made on the Note 5's hardware is the addition of the curved glass on the back of the phone. Now this not only adds a little bit of much needed grip, but it also makes the phone fit better in your hand. Now on the front of this phone is a 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display. Sound familiar? That's because it's the exact same display we saw last year in the Galaxy Note 4. Now is that a bad thing? Not by any means. Just like last time, this display is awesome, and it's arguably the best one you can get today. Now the display has great colors, awesome viewing angles, and it gets insanely bright. Of every phone I've tried, the Note 5 is the easiest to see outdoors on a sunny day. Now showcased on that display is Android 5.1.1 out of the box with Samsung's own software UI on top. Now they don't refer to it as TouchWiz anymore, but let's be honest, this is still very clearly TouchWiz. Largely this is exactly what we saw on the Galaxy S6 with a few extra features, most of which, of course, come from the S Pen. Now a couple of notable features include the ability to write on the screen without unlocking it. Simply pop out the S Pen and the screen will turn on so you can jot down a quick note. Then just put the S Pen back in and it automatically saves and turns your screen off. There's also a new feature called scroll capture, which allows you to take a single screenshot that encompasses a very long list, perhaps a web page. Now this is definitely not a feature everyone's going to use, but it would prove useful in certain scenarios. Other features of the Note 5 include a built-in theming engine, which allows users to completely change the look of their device with just a few taps. Now there's also other features brought over from previous generations like multi-window and air command. Now one notable issue with the software that I experienced is that it has some serious syncing issues. For whatever reason, many of the apps installed on my Note 5, especially Google Hangouts, simply does not sync on this phone unless I'm actively using it. Now I'm not sure what causes this, but it does seem that other users have had the same problem. Hopefully it'll be fixed in a future software update. Now before we move on, there's one more thing, the S Pen. Samsung has updated the S Pen in the Note 5 and it now has a clicking mechanism on the end and, well, it's addicting. Oh, and pro tip, do not stick it in backwards. It will get stuck and it will cause damage to your device. Just don't do it. Now under the hood of the Note 5, we have some serious specs. We have an octa-core Exynos 7420 processor, 4GB of RAM, 32 or 64GB of storage. The Note 5 can handle just about anything you throw its way. The software absolutely flies in day-to-day use, and games play better than almost any other Android phone out there right now. Now unfortunately, all of that processing power and that big display does require a lot of power, and put simply, the Note 5 doesn't quite have it. Now with the sealed-in 3000 mAh battery, the Note 5 doesn't quite have the endurance that the Note 4 did before it. Now battery life isn't bad necessarily, but it's not that impressive. Now more than likely you're going to get through a day, and even with a little bit of power left over, but you're definitely not going to get more than that out of this phone. Now to combat that smaller battery, Samsung has included fast charging, wireless charging, and fast wireless charging. Now each of those do exactly what you think. Samsung claims that the Note 5 will charge from 0 to 100 in about 90 minutes using fast charging, or about 120 minutes using fast wireless charging. Now last but not least, let's talk about the camera. On the back of the Note 5 is the exact same sensor that we saw on the Galaxy S6. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. It's still the same 16 megapixel camera with a f1.9 aperture, and it's awesome. This camera, just like its little brother, is still one of the best you can get in a phone today, regardless of how you look at that. Now here's a few test shots I took on the Galaxy Note 5. So in the end, is the Galaxy Note 5 a phone worth buying? Short answer, probably. The Note 5 is a great phone for just about everyone, but it's no longer for power users. If microSD support and a removable battery are important to you, you'll want to look at other phones like the LG G4 or the LG V10 or even last year's Galaxy Note 4. Now either way, the Note 5 is a solid choice and you'll undoubtedly be happy if you do decide to pick it up. That's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and let us know in the comments if you like the Note 5. Also subscribe to the channel for more reviews just like this one, and we'll catch you in the next one.